Hi guys, it's time for our story. Yesterday we started Magic Tree House number 9, Dolphins at Daybreak. And at the beginning of the story, Jack and Annie saw that the tree house and Morgan were back. And Morgan told Jack and Annie that they needed to collect, it was four of something they needed. I think they had to solve 4 riddles to prove that they were master librarians so that they could start collecting books for the library for Morgan. So the treehouse was spinning and spinning, and then now they have landed here. Okay, so this is where Jack and Annie are. The reef. A breeze blew through the window. Shh. Seagulls cried. That's these birds here. Waves lapped the shore. Annie picked up the riddle scroll. She unrolled it. Together, she and Jack read the riddle. Rough and gray as rock, I'm plain as plain can be, but hidden deep inside, there's a great beauty in me. What am I? That's what their scroll said. Let's go find the answer, said Annie. She and Jack looked out the window. The treehouse wasn't in a tree. It was on the ground. Why is the ground pink? Said Jack. I don't know, said Annie, but I'm going out there. I'm going to do a little research first, said Jack. Annie climbed out of the treehouse. Jack picked up the ocean book and flipped through it. He found a picture of a pink island surrounded by water. He read, "This is a coral reef. Corals are tiny sea animals. After they die, their skeletons remain. Over time, the reef builds up from stacks and stacks of coral." Oh man, tiny skeletons, said Jack. He pulled out his notebook and wrote, "Millions of coral skeletons." Jack, come look at this, cried Annie. What is it? I don't know, but you'll love it, she said. Jack threw his notebook and the ocean book into his backpack and climbed out the window. Is it the answer to the riddle? He called. I don't think so. It doesn't look very plain, said Annie. She was standing at the edge of the water. Beside her, a strange-looking machine. Jack hurried over the bumpy coral to get a better look. The machine was half on the reef and half in the clear blue water. It looked like a huge white bubble with a big window. Is it a kind of boat? Asked Annie. Jack found a picture of the machine in the ocean book. Scientists who study the ocean are called oceanographers. Sometimes they travel in small diving vessels called submarines or mini-subs to study the ocean floor. It's a mini-sub, said Jack. He pulled out his notebook. Let's get inside, said Annie. No, said Jack. Actually, he did want to see what the submarine looked like on the inside, but he shook his head. We can't. It's not ours. Just a tiny peek, said Annie. It might help us figure out the riddle. Jack sighed. Okay, but we have to be careful. And don't touch anything, he said. Don't worry, said Annie. And take your shoes off so they won't get wet. He and Annie slipped off their shoes and socks and put them near the treehouse. Then they stepped carefully over the sharp coral on the ground. Annie turned the handle on the hatch of the mini-sub and it opened. She and Jack climbed inside and the hatch slammed shut. The mini sub was tiny. 2 seats faced the big window. In front of the seats was a computer built into a control panel. Annie sat down. Jack opened the ocean book and read more of the mini sub page. Mini subs have strong hulls to keep air in and protect those aboard from water pressure. Computers are used to guide the mini sub through the ocean. Oops, said Annie. What's wrong? Jack looked up. Annie was waving her hands in front of the computer. Now the screen showed a map. What's going on? Said Jack. I just pressed a few keys, said Annie. What? I told you not to touch anything. An air blower came on. Whoosh. The mini sub jerked back. Get out, said Jack. He grabbed Annie and scrambled for the hatch. Jack grabbed the handle. They were too late. The mini sub slid off the reef and dove deep down silently into the water. They're inside the submarine. Chapter 3 is called Mini Sub. You've really done it now, Annie, said Jack. Sorry. But look out the window. Look. Forget it. We have to figure this out. Jack stared at the computer. He saw a row of pictures at the top of the screen. What did you do? He asked. I just pressed the on button, said Annie. The screen lit up, and then I pressed the starfish. That must be the command to go under the water, said Jack. Yeah, and then the map came on. So here's the 3 buttons that were on the screen. And she pressed the starfish. Okay. The map shows the reef. Look, there's a mini sub on the map. It's moving away from the reef. It's kind of like a video game, said Annie. I bet I know what to do. Annie pressed a key with an arrow pointing to the right. The mini sub on the screen moved to the right. The real sub turned to the right also. Great, said Jack. You just press the arrows to steer the mini sub. So now we can go back. Oh no, not right away. It's so beautiful down here, said Annie. Okay, so Jack and Annie are in a submarine underneath the water. And that is where we're going to leave them for now. We'll read some more tomorrow. Bye, first grade.